everybody. Welcome to Perfectly Imperfect. My name is Aspen Danielle, where I talk about my journey through Christ, where through Him I am perfect, but the journey is and was not perfect. It was very much imperfect. Alright, so today I am basically just going to touch base with another Christian YouTuber. Her name is Melody Alyssa. Alyssa, if I'm saying that wrong, I hope I'm not, but I'm kind of just banking off her video. She's an amazing Christian YouTuber, so if y'all want somebody to listen to, go to her. FYI, y'all, I literally had the plans of having my hair looking good, but this was obviously, there's a different setting. I'm on my bed actually, which I mean, it's never this messy, but obviously I've got my laptop on here to look at the recording, and then I've got my iPad, my Bible, my journal. I've got everything, and then I've got some tea. I'm in a different setting because, of course, I am sick. I feel like y'all think I just be saying this when I start doing my podcast, but y'all, if you know me, you know I literally get sick all the time. Every 2 weeks, quite literally, because I mean, obviously I release every 2 weeks. But this pollen ain't no joke this year, because it hit me Friday night. I feel like my sinuses kicked me. No, just kidding. It was Thursday night because I was going to sleep and kept waking up coughing. My throat was sore, but your girl got some tea in her little cup. This is the cutest little cup. We actually got it from work. Look at me going off topic, but I got one of my friends got me some cherry blossom tea, and y'all, your girl is in her little tea phase. She's got out of coffee, and I just love different teas. So this is a new one that I'm trying, and it's so good, y'all. It's got hibiscus and different things, and it just kind of soothes you. I don't know why I'm in my little grown era, but I love me some good tea. But off track, here we are, Perfectly Imperfect. For those who have been supporting me, I want to thank y'all so much, because it's been amazing. The journey within itself, and I hear so many podcasters, I feel say this. They'll be to know that a year ago I was planning on doing a podcast, and then now I'm I have everything for it. It kind of just makes me sit and think, because it's if you don't know, my podcast is in my bedroom. So when I look over at my setup, I'm always man, even just now looking at, I've got my ring light, I've got my mic, and listen, we're going back to the old days, because my other one is clipped on my desk where my usual setup is, and I have this one still, so I just literally got it and put it up here. Sorry if it look a little ghetto, y'all, if my setup is a little ghetto today, but your girl does not feel 100%, and my bed was my best friend this weekend, which I do thank God, because I got so much rest and I love it. But yeah, this is the end of season 1. I feel your girl, first of all, I gotta thank God, thank my parents for just supporting this all, and then give my good old self a pat on the back for continuing with this, because it doesn't matter the views or or if it's reaching so many people. That does matter, don't get me wrong, but I love that it's reaching the right person. It couldn't be that one person that it needs to reach, because look at that. My story is, I feel within itself, something that is so beautiful, and to have that strength and faith to be able to step out and just say, all right, this is what I'm doing. I'm telling y'all, it took a lot. So here we are, ending of season 1. I originally wanted to do, I think, 10 episodes, but we got to 7, I think. I've got new cover art, new bio, new intro that I will be releasing with season 2, so I'm super excited, because I'm just your girl is on her professional street. If you don't know, I do this all by myself. The editing, a lot of people, it's hard being a content creator, for real. And And for it to be something that I was like, all right, this is what we're going to step out and do, I have had the motivation from God himself, because even on days like this where I am sick as a dog, I've still been motivated to do it, and I can't thank anybody but God and the people that support me. So a little emotional track, but today is just all about and it was crazy because if you don't know, like, I literally I have topics planned, and then I kind of just like add in points. This is just the way I do it, and then I will fill in there based off, just like my personal life and my experience with God and my faith and my life with Christ. But today this was not planned. I kind of just like sat here. I know it's release week, and I wanted to film. I already have like the next 2 episodes in my notes and everything's written down. I just got to go back and add a few final points, but I kind of just wanted to sit and speak with God. I've never, and it made it even more special because I know that I've been needing to do it, and I was like, all right, why don't I just do it on my podcast to sit and think with God? Because it's in those moments where I'm sitting and talking to others and pretty much talking to myself as well, not to sound insane, but like, it's those moments where God will reveal so much to me as he's literally trying to speak to me through the podcast. And I've said this before, like, there's been times where God has spoken to me while I'm speaking in the podcast, and I'm like, man, like, God, it's still to me so shocking. Now, I don't know if it's shocking, but I just like marvel in his beauty and the things that he's done. And I'm actually talking about this in my next episode, I think. But I've been watching The Chosen, and y'all, I've watched like a few depictions of Jesus and his life, but this, I don't know what it is, like, it's just the way that the show within itself has done such an amazing job, just like with the life of the disciples and the way they're slowly taking it and using those small parts of the Bible and Jesus' story and using it to describe him, and it just makes you fall in love with it. Like, I think one of the last ones I watched, because I'm in season 3, which is the last season before, of course, season 4, before they released that one, and he's doing the Sermon on the Mount, and if y'all don't know, I'm telling y'all, like, he's talking about the Beatitudes, and he's just discussing all this, and I'm telling y'all, there are so many moments in that show where I just like literally want to cry, because it makes you feel like you're really seeing what Jesus, like literally seeing it. And I mean, I'm telling you, they did an amazing job with the way they did that show. It makes my heart literally just grow. But back on track. So I've been doing that, and I've been in this season of really backtracking and finding myself, finding the beauty within myself, and finding the moments where I've had to go back and sit and see initially where God had me, because there are those moments where I have to sit and I'm like, all right, God, like, I'm getting further and further into my seasons of doubt. Like, you've got to show me something. And I really sat down and I was like, I think I kind of just want to like sit and talk to God and just like see the beauty in everything around me and see the beauty in myself. So that's what I've been doing lately. Like, I went hiking, and this was things like on my bucket list, like things that I wouldn't say bucket list, but things that I just wanted to do this year different. And one was hiking. I went on like a 3-hour hike there and back, and it was just so beautiful and gorgeous at the end, because at the end it was a waterfall, and I was like, man, like, God, this was worth it. This was worth taking that moment and doing different things and seeing the beauty that you have. But that's where I've been at lately, just seeing the difference in the beauty of God and what he really stops and do. And this kind of just reminds me of Job, and I've said this is one of my favorite character in books of the Bible and just stories. And how God does all these things and takes all these things away from Job, even though he's super faithful and he, thanks God for everything. And in the end, finally Job, because, and I've said this before, and sorry y'all if I'm like all over the place, because obviously I don't have it scripted, so this is just a time for me to kind of, speak with myself and talk with God. But in the end, Job finally speaks to God, because if you don't know, Job is, I want to say 50 chapters, and then in chapter 40, and I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure I'm wrong, but finally in chapter 40, and if I'm looking, because I kind of want to look at my Bible just to see if I'm correct, but in chapter 40, finally God speaks to Job, and he is like, listen, yes, I'm correct, y'all. I had to go back and look. But in chapter, 38, and it's 42 chapters, he finally comes and he's like, listen, I have a lot more to worry about than you right now. If you don't see, I did this for this world. I've got millions of things. I'm worrying about what this bird's going to eat, what this animal's going to do, what they're doing. I have to perfectly craft these things in this world. So if you think you got it bad, think of me who did all this for these people, yet they basically just threw me to the side. And I feel like in this moment, like, this is how I really feel. And it's not, it really just, he gives Job this moment where he's like, all right, listen, sometimes we just gotta take a step back and look at the things, because that's what I had to do. And I'm in that moment right now. And this is, like I said, this is from Melody Elisa, but she had this was in March. This is not one of her latest episodes, but if there's somebody that you want to watch on YouTube, she's a great one. She's a mom. She's younger, so she's very good to relate to. I've been watching her now for about 2.5 years, so she's super good. Sorry, y'all. I take a sip. But this one was called Learn the Pace of God's Grace. And I was like, ooh, the title flows. Like, all right, let's go. She posts every Monday. So she has a good schedule. She actually does videos. And I love watching her. But she always gives 3 points. And then in the end, she'll have like a reflection. And she'll tell you to, take those 3 points. It's your turn, and I always reflect on them. So I'll kind of go over the first one, and this is just know and remember that obedience is the foundation. And she basically breaks it down and says that you should have good intentions and obedient actions. As we are journeying with the Lord, we need to start with being obedient to Him. And that within itself is true. I am in a very much obedient season. And you should always be obedient with God, but there are always those times where God speaks to you and He's like, all right, I'm going to tell you something. And I've told y'all this before. This is very much in my testimony, but God has told me things and I didn't listen, and not out of malintent. He's like, all right, until you get it, these things are going to happen. And I can't do anything about it because you didn't listen. Not that He can't do anything about it, because He's an amazing God, but it's definitely like a lesson. And in those moments, I grew into the person that I am today, which, I mean, it's amazing. But I am in that now where I thought I was where I needed to be, and 5 years ago, I was peaceful with it. And now I'm like, all right, God, like, there's something poking at me, telling me that you need me to be in another place. And I'm like, but where? I love my job. I love changing the lives of kids and parents and families. But it's still something poking me. It's poking me, and I'm like, God, you've got me in this space, all right? You got to communicate with me. But in the same time, God's like, but are you communicating with me? Are you being truthful? Are you telling me, Aspen, are you telling me, that you're doubtful of the things that I have for you? And I'm like, oh, you're kind of right. because I'm not. I'll say this all the time, there are those moments where it's okay to be truthful with God. It is completely 100% okay to tell him how we feel. And it's just the way that we look at the relationship. I love that, and this is Joyce Myers that kind of taught this, where we don't have to think as God is like this angry God. Like, I grew up in a church. Like, I grew up in a Southern church where everything was so like brutally put, like you thought you was gonna get struck by lightning. Not to be funny, but for real, like that's really how it was. And I feel like when I started to learn about God more, he got put in this light of just beauty, especially when we look at the story of Jesus. I'm in John now, and I love reading about just the beauty of Jesus. Matthew and John are my two favorites because it just shows the beauty of him. The Gospels in general are amazing, but those are my two favorites of the Gospels. So I've been back on, like I said, I've been back into just looking at the beauty of everything and seeing the goodness that he has for us and the goodness that he shows us. But point 2 was slow down. This is definitely me because I'm always on the go, and I'm always like, all right, Aspen, what's next? All right, we've got this done. What's next? Okay, what's the next? And I don't know if it's like the leadership in me, because I am a teacher, and I get like in that mode where I'm like, all right, my kids need this, and my classroom needs this, and we need to get this done, and this has to be done. And that I feel like the more I've got like a little bit, what's the word? I've got more constructive with my life, and I'm a lot more impatient than I used to be. I feel like I was a very much go with the flow person. I still am, but I feel like especially now, because I'm like, all right, God, I don't know where I need to be. I need you to help me. You're not telling me. That is the frustrating part about being a Christian. But you have to step back and really you have to trust God and believe that the plans that he has for you are plans to prosper, period. But she relates the character of David in this, and she says, in not slowing down, David was disobedient. If y'all don't know, I did a episode on David, who is also one of my favorite characters in stories of the Bible. And David, God was telling him all these things, and because David didn't wait and didn't listen to God, and when God told him to be patient and do it his way, of course, we see the bad things happen, and David's life starts to unravel. So she says in this, we really have to sit, and this is advice to myself, and ask God, how do you want me to deal with this? How do you want me to view this moment of my life? How do you want me to sit and think and deal with this moment? Because I can tell you, for one thing that being a Christian has taught me is to sit for a minute and think about what you're going to say, think about what you're going to do, because I was a very impulsive person in certain parts. I am still, but in the moments I have to, my mom has always taught me, sit and just call on the name of Jesus. When there's a moment in your life where you are literally frustrated, say his name. And I've learned that so much. So that was point 2. And then point 3 was, it's going to take trial and error. I say this all the time, and I tell people, when you are with Christ and you gain that, a lot of people think immediately you're just going to get the things that you want in life. That is not true. You got to fight for it. Sorry, y'all. There are going to be trials and errors. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to misstep and do things just as David did. That's inevitable. That's human. You're going to make mistakes. But when you're with Christ, it's for real, because God sees these certain things, and he's like, all right, now wait a minute. I see she's here, but let me do this one thing. And like I said, it's not out of malintent. Let me do this one thing and just pinpoint her to see if she really has that trust in me to know that I'm going to get her through this, or him through this. And there's that one thing, because God is going to connect it, but there will be consequences if you don't stop and do it his way. Same with David. things are going to happen, and I right now could sit and say, all right, God, listen, there's this guy out there, he's the perfect husband. God, you know what, I ain't even talked about him to nobody, but you know what, we gonna see it through. God's like, all right, Aspen, if that's what you think, that's cool. You didn't pray about it to me, you didn't talk about it, you didn't give it a minute, but all right, let's just go. Y'all, I ain't even gotta tell you how that's gonna end. I don't even want to think about how that's gonna end, because it's the rush of it all. There are so many things, and like I said, that's one of them. Just, the life that I've had, I'm like, all right, God, where is he at? Because you told me he was coming, but where is he? But let's be real. If right now, or no, pause, because it's crazy. I just listened to this, and this girl was like, if 3-4 years ago God had given me a husband, I would have ruined it. And I'm gonna be real, I would have ruined it. I'm saying in me, because the character that I was not in Christ at all. And even though I was on track with my faith, I wasn't committed. So I know that the person that he would have seen, my, potential husband or whatever, oh no, it would have scared him. Like, for real, like, I know how I was. And if you know me, you know how I was. So it's things like that where we've got to take a minute and sit and think, all right, God, this is you. You just need to tell me what you need me to do. And I need to sit and listen and be obedient to you. And that is where that word comes in again. But all in all, I think my takeaway from this is, it's the pressure of trying to figure out where I need to be. And that pressure comes from not trusting God. Because I know for a fact that I need to trust him through it all. And be receptive to the plans that he has for me. And yes, it's hard. Trust me, it's super hard. I mean, I've been on this track for 6 years now. And it's scary. It's scary knowing that possibly certain things won't be to you in a year. But that is where that faith comes in, and that love, and that peace, and that joy. Sorry, y'all. I have the hiccups comes in. And it's just going back sometimes to that square one and sitting and marveling in the beauty of God. Because when you first start as a Christian, I remember just being on fire for God, and I'm like, all right, God, what's next? And I'm like just hyped up on the Holy Spirit. But then there are those times where literally I'm like, it's a roller coaster. I'm like up and then I'm down, and up and then I'm down, and I'm in one of those low peaks of my season. And I'm just like, God, I need you. And it's those moments where he literally sits back and shows me, and he's like, remember when you were on fire for me? All right, I'm going to take you back down here, and we're going to remold you. And we're just going to work you back up to this point, because I need you to see that love that you had for me in that moment. Oop.